Hi everybody, Benita here with your October forecast. Sorry it's a little bit late. I was away in Victoria doing an event. And let's get us all caught up on where we're going this month. So I'm going to pick a card for the month of October. Okay, and we have the Stitch Queen. So we'll put that aside for now. And we'll grab all our die. I don't know how I'm going to do this when the new set arrives next year because it's going to have 50 die. So I'm probably going to do a two-parter with some of the die and then some of the other die. So there'll be the seasons ones, which these are key keepers, the helpers. It's going to be fun to have even more to play with. All right, let's see. All right, so we have 4 that went off, including the chaos die. So the chaos die is not going to be part of the story today. We are going to look for fate die. Let's see, do we have that on the table or has it taken off? It is right here with the cards. And so this one says the situation as we've come to find it, no matter who did what or what things came to pass, it is what it is. So it's, in other words, this is not about looking beyond what's actually showing up here. This is what it is. This is what we're going to look at here. So I suspect we're going to have a very straightforward spread. Interestingly, we have 1 sitting right in the core and several around it, which is unusual. So we're going to see what comes of that. So it is actually the actions die that shows up right here in the core. And this one is the helm. Anybody who's enjoyed the Sandman series will know what that is. So when it shows up in the core, it speaks to rough times ahead that you'll need to weather or a current situation that you're already weathering. So that's fun. So challenges ahead. I don't know if that's a huge surprise, but there we go. The Alchemist die is showing up in the past. That's this one here. And it is iron. So it speaks that it's best to solidity and defense coming from a person. It can defend and attack on behalf of a person, but it can also come from them. So it's a very human defense. It's physically protective. So it's saying in the past, you've been in a situation, we've all been in a situation where we had to come to our own defense or the defense of others. So it's simply pointing out that that energy, that skill is needing to be brought forward in. We might be feeling that at this time that our, very country is coming under threat. So that feeling of wanting to protect what is ours is being brought forward now. Our ally die is showing up right within, like just slightly beyond the core. So this one is community. So when it's found between 2 die, which it is here, it does as one might expect. These things are hand in hand to make a path forward. So we know here it's about protection. So we may be needing to protect ourselves or our community in some way. And so we'll see how the other one falls into place as we go. The attentions die shows up in the future. It's a candle. I don't know if I showed you the community die, so you see its hands clasped. Okay. And the candle speaks to things you want to see quietly and alone. So it's not meant to stay hidden necessarily. It can be shared, but when it's shared, it's private and intentional. It can be sweet memories, private, and perhaps, embarrassing thoughts. It's about vulnerability with people that you trust. So it's showing up next to another die. We're going to see how that plays out. But it's saying going forward, there are certain things you're going to want to do or speak about in close company. It's not going to be something that you put out there in a big way. The autumn die shows up under fated, and it is a skull. Kind of funny, right? Halloween's coming, we have skull. Okay. And it is about passing. So things changing, things passing. It's the equivalent of the tarot death card, which usually means one cycle ending and a new one beginning. So it's suggesting that we are coming to the end of a cycle. And we see a lot of things coming to a head, but it's saying at some point here they're going to pivot. So courage, things are going to change. We can skip the chaos die because it's off the map. The elements die is the one on the other side of the community dies. This one right here. Let's see what that looks like. And that one is wind. So it's a characterizing force that helps us understand the die that ends up near. So flighting is sudden change. It has a fickle nature. So it's saying that the challenge for community here is that sometimes it may be hard to get people to kind of come together and get on the same page when it comes to the things we need to do. And we see that. We see in our world right now that there's people with differing opinions about how we move forward as a society. So yeah, it's hard sometimes to get everybody on the same page. The Goblin die is right here under foundation. You can see it's like a cog. So it is manufacturing. It speaks to the movement to making a thing real. So we can imagine possibilities, but sometimes we have to make something real. So it's interesting. It's quite close to the one that says, this is what it is. So in other words, it's saying, this isn't a time for fantasy. It isn't a time for going into your imagination or wishing things were different. It's about making things real, taking action. So if something's not working in our society, it is incumbent upon us to do something about that. Okay, the influences die. And this is also tied into the card, the Stitch Queen. So she explicitly points to someone in power over the situation who believes they control or should control the current situation. Gee, I wonder who that could be. So it's, whether it's something at home or whether it's looking at the bigger picture, we are definitely dealing with power struggles in our society. It makes sense that that would show up. And the dice in this case falls under fated, and it's a cute little ghost. What does the ghost have to tell us? So what it haunts, why it haunts, these things will come to be explained in time. Often in the reading itself, the act of haunting is what matters most in the die. The knowledge that something is not without a shadow burden. An empty see-through weight hangs heavily on the shoulders of whatever this die resides with. So it's under fated. So you might see it as, because it also comes with the end of a cycle, the burden of ending this cycle falls upon us. We can't, in our current world, look at things and go, it's somebody else's problem, because we're all affected. Kindness die is showing up in the present. And it is stitches, so you see that there, showing up in the present. It's the act of sealing or mending a wound. So it speaks to the need for mending or the reminder that things have been mended and perhaps even who did it. So in this case, it's saying in the present, we're the ones who have to heal, who have to mend wounds. It's, again, everything in this spread so far is pointing to our responsibility as citizens to address what we can. It might be little kindnesses we show our neighbors to build community, to reinforce our connections to each other. It might be seeing an injustice and speaking up about it rather than hoping somebody else does. There's very much in all of the dice I've seen here today a call to take responsibility, take action in a way that is taking things in the right direction. So under future, we have this person holding what looks like the earth. It says held tight. And it says a need to stop all motion and simply rock in place in someone's arms. It can be read as a need for a break, as a need to relinquish control, as a need to be taken care of. So when we see it with this dice, that's about, taking time to say things quietly, deal with some things without it being out in the world. It's suggesting that for us to move forward, we'll also need to take breaks to even retreat a bit, to have the energy for the changes to come. The Major's die is sitting also under Fated. It looks like so. And it says, the hills and roads on the path face speak to our decisions that lead us on new passages, knowing that each path we do not take will not always return to us as an option. Who to befriend, who to love, what job to take, which movie to see, which brand of soap to buy. We make choices each and every day, and the path face is focused on that, though often for the more important choices in life. So it's very interesting. It is saying we have a choice to make. One chapter of our life is ending and a new one beginning. And the haunting says you don't get to not make the choice. You don't get to forfeit it and put it on somebody else's shoulders. If we want things to change, every one of us in our own way has to do something here. It's not going to happen without support from every one of us. We have to work together. Now, the Mariner's die, it's interesting because it falls under present, which we've already seen. One of the die for that is about mending wounds. And this one is ocean. So you can see the sun and the waves. And it's where the water face of the elements die speaks to the nature of the element more broadly. The ocean face speaks to the element more practically. So it's something that we live on. It can be beautiful. It can be destructive. It speaks to change, constant, amoral, and without thought. In other words, we can play victim and go, this shouldn't be happening. Or we can say, well, no, change is inevitable. Change is always going to occur. So with this change, with the things that are changing, can we seek a path of healing, of kindness, not be pulled off our soul's path by change? Okay, this is interesting. I've never actually had this face show up in a reading. And it is also in this circle around the Helm card. So you can see that it's this hand pointing toward, it kind of looks like it's pointing to another person maybe. It says emergence. It's the face of recognizing your power in the moment and rising up and beyond what's kept you from feeling free. So in other words, we've got, this fickleness of, we're dealing with people with different opinions. We're not all on the same page. We need to build community. We need to come together to protect our society. And this is the emergence of that sense of, I have a responsibility and I have the power to do something about it. That's really important here. So it's interesting that the helm, which indicates tough times, also shows community emerging, the desire to protect, the emergence of ourselves, taking action, doing something, finding our own power to do things. We still have one more in that circle. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Okay, the relationship die is sitting in the past, and it looks like this, and it's alone. Okay. So alone typically means an imposed isolation. So in other words, when we see it in the past, we see a desire to protect ourselves. Maybe we've pulled away from people. Maybe we've chosen to have a smaller circle of people we trust. So it's recognizing now we're being pulled back out into the world. It's like, no, there's things you have to do. There's things you have to address. You have to take your head out of the sand. It's not going to work well if you keep it there. Okay. Our spring die is the last one in the circle. And it looks like that. And it is sex. All right. So it speaks to anything that's near picking up context and clarity of other dice. So when I look at that one, it speaks to people in our lives we feel attraction or desire for, or concerns rising from sexual encounters and relationships. So it's an interesting one to throw in the mix here, because when I look at it, my sense is we need to bring all of ourselves to the table and my feeling is it's not about gender. In other words, the men don't go to the front of the line and the women stay back. We have people who are intersex, we have people of all kinds of gender persuasions. We are all needed in this situation. So let's not create division with this. That's how I read that. It's, again, a very full-bodied thing. You can't just go with your mind and maybe write an email or something and say, there, I did something. It's how do you actually, with all of who you are, apply yourself to building community and making a difference in this situation. Okay, the suits die is also in the past. That's the crown. And it's a unique one. Instead of referring to the arcana of the tarot, it refers more to the tarot, refers more to the concept behind the major arcana. So anything that ends up near is of major importance. So in other words, it's saying what you've learned in the past about protection and about, what you've learned in isolation and meditation is very important. You need to bring all of yourself, all of your realizations to this. This is a spiritual path. This is practical, but it's taking everything you've learned, all the stuff we've been looking at for the last few years, and now how do you apply it? It's too easy to go into the cave and say, oh, I've had these realizations and I'm now this advanced being. At some point, you've got to come out of the cave and use what you've learned to apply it to the world we live in. If you've learned compassion, how does compassion play out in your life? Do you see situations that require you to step up? And do you? Are you looking for ways to be supportive, to make a difference, to show people that they can rely on you, that we're a community and we're going to work together on things? Okay, the last one we have here under future momentum is unmarred. So it's basically when you see it here where it's relation to this quarter, to the future, that die is being soft and unwilling to get down and dirty or being unable or knowing what to do. So it's saying in the future, there's a possibility that we're going to kind of retreat, go off into small groups. I don't know what to do. I'm just going to hang out with my friends and stick my head back in the sand. So it's saying be aware of that desire to just kind of step away from what you see going on and decide it's not your problem. So when we look at this overall, what we're seeing here is a call to action, call to learn what we've learned in the past, build something new with kindness, with community, going forward in a very practical way. Don't let divided opinions stop us from building community, which means we would have to really put some effort in to find a way to connect and have unity with people who see things differently. Bring all of yourself to it. This is a fully embodied experience. It's very easy when you're spiritual to go up into your head and meditate and say, oh, I'm doing the work. At some point, boots on the ground, you've got to put the effort in to make community happen. You've got to apply yourself. There's going to be a temptation in the future just to stick your head in the sand, hang out with your friends and go, yeah, I don't want to deal with this. But remember, under Fated, we got a very, very clear message. Change is going to happen. This cycle is going to end. A new one will begin. There's a definite path to walk, but you're going to be haunted by this. You're not going to be left alone to leave other people to do the work. You're going to have to put the effort out. It's kind of like when you get a horoscope and they say, oh, there's all these tendencies that are going to give you opportunities in the next month. Well, those opportunities only work if you step into them. So you're really getting a strong message here that this is not about standing on the sidelines. This is about looking at what can you do in your daily life to make a difference. How can you build community? How can you help other people to feel safe and cared for and valued? How can you address the injustices in the world? If something shows up within your sphere of influence, it's incumbent upon you to do something about it. We're being told this cycle is going to end. Well, how soon it ends, how soon we transition into something better is dependent on each of us. It cannot be left just to people in charge. We on the ground affect the people around us every day. Can we build a kinder community? Can we support people around us? And if we see injustice, are we prepared to step in and do something about it? We're getting a pretty strong message this month, folks. Everything we've been doing the last few years that's been all internal, all of this is external. All of this. Are you going to retreat, stick your head in the sand? Or are you going to take what you've learned and apply it in this world in grounded, constructive ways? What are you going to do? Right? I'm intrigued. If you guys have any comments, anything you want to add to this discussion about things you're doing to build community, heck, if you've got social pages that are about making a difference, that are constructive, caring, building toward a kinder world, feel free to share them on my YouTube and my Facebook. Let's find ways to grow together. All right, thanks everyone, and I'll see you in November.